are listening to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, November 6th show. You can also listen to my podcast, Facebook premiere show, or you can listen to the show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on any of my upcoming events, please go to TinaMitchellEvents.com. I am your host, Tina Mitchell. It is a great day to talk about money, and that is what the show is all about: how to make money, save money, so you can have a better quality of life for you and for your family. If you are hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And now on our show, we have Kari Scott of John L. Scott, West Seattle, managing broker, John L. Scott, top 1% team leader, and strategic problem solver, right here on 1150 a.m. KKNW. Kari, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tina.
Yeah, so excited to showcase you, your success, and also to share your expertise with our listeners when it comes to real estate. A little bit about Kari: a year-over-year top producer, has been with John L. Scott Real Estate, helping buyers and sellers for the last 22 years. She has a team of 3. Lynn Sterling, her licensed assistant for the last almost 20 years. And Claire Rosenberg has been on the team for 4 years doing marketing. And in January of 2021, came on full-time as a second licensed assistant showing agent. Congratulations, Claire. Kari has been coached consistently for the last 22 years through Brian Buffini and Company, which is the largest real estate coaching company in the world. A certified Buffini and Company mentor and facilitator, a certified luxury home marketing specialist, Kari and her team's commitment to client experience is unparalleled. A master negotiator with a ton of experience and always here to help. 95% of her business is by repeat and referral, and she considers her clients her friends. Her goal for every client is to be so delighted with the level of service received that they can't wait to refer her to her friends and family members, which they do. That's why she's in the top 1%. Kari is a 13-time 5-star professional award winner for outstanding customer service, and this is voted by her peers and her clients. For more information on Kari Scott, please Google Kari Scott Zillow reviews to see that she has 90 plus 5-star reviews. You can also reach Kari at 206-799-8343. That's 206-799-8343. Because if you are in the real estate market looking to buy or sell, you definitely need to reach out to Kari. So Kari, again, I'm just excited to have you here, not for one segment, not for 2 segments, but for 3 segments, which is in the entire show, except for my first part, which I do a little money chat. So Kari, since the pandemic started, what have you learned and experienced?
A lot.
I'm sure.
Probably the number one thing is people need people. You know, you've had to pick who your pod's going to be. You've got to decide who you're going to invite in your home. You have to decide what's the risk of going out and doing. People had to make all these decisions that we've never in my lifetime ever had to make before. How you're going to work, how you're going to homeschool your kids, how are you going to homeschool your kids and still go to work in your home yourself, make sure the dog's not barking in the back, who's making lunch when you have a meeting. I mean, we've learned a lot this last year.
Yeah, it's in different challenges that each of us had to have to deal with, depending on some of those things that you brought up, Kari. And what pivots have you had to make?
Well, my team of 3, I'm in my home office, Claire's in our John L. Scott office, and Lynn's at her home. So we've had to learn how to be a team and sometimes go days without ever seeing each other. So that's been, thank God for Zoom, right? We've been Zooming for quite a long time. Yeah. And we've had to really learn how to be very clear with our communications and just do things differently than we ever have had to do before, which we're doing, and it's thriving and it's working, and anything's possible if you really put your mind to it.
Yeah, for sure, and definitely seen that in these for some trying times when for others they've been able to maximize their results. I know you've had, one of your best years ever in the middle of a pandemic.
Mhm.
Again, always being in the top 1%, but even in better in that volume. So, Kari, what's been noticeably different for you from 2021 to 2022 in real estate?
Relationships.
Mhm.
We really went deep with our relationships this year with our clients and last year, because I have a very strong client appreciation program where my clients hear from me one way or the other, but whether it's email or I stop by, I do a porch buy. I used to do a pop by where I pop by with things at their houses. Now I do porch buys and I throw it on their porch and then I text them and say I've been by, because we weren't going to people's houses at all last year. So just really just going deep with who you are. And last year was all about customer care. Who knew if I was going to sell one houses or 45 or 50 houses? We had no idea. So the main thing, we just wanted to let our clients know we're there for them. If you need anything, how are you? Because that's what people needed last year. They just needed check-in calls. And what transpired from that is that people sat in their houses and were in them more than they probably ever wanted to be, not going places. So they really saw the things in their houses that maybe they thought they'd always change someday. And now the someday happened. So people called me, they wanted to move. People called me, they wanted to upsize, they wanted to downsize, they wanted to be closer to family. I had more clients probably moved to be closer to family than any other reason why they bought or sold. So
Well, and people coming out of the city to get a bigger house in the suburbs because of everything that's happening in the city and the ability to be able to work from home so they don't have to commute into the office anymore.
right. Traffic was not an issue when you could work from home.
Yeah.
And outside spaces, people just wanted a space where no one told them that they couldn't go or they had to follow a protocol. They just wanted a space they could try to feel somewhat normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Kari, what are three things that you did to not just survive in the pandemic, but to thrive?
Well, we were open to changing everything and everything how we did it. So my word for last year was to change the systems, because what we were doing was no longer applicable.
Yeah.
So we really went into this deep client care. I think we did like almost 900 porch buys last year. We always have a big pie party, because if you're one of my clients, you're invited to come by my office, or actually I usually invite you to my house. I have like 100 or more clients come and I give them pies or pumpkin bread.
Wow.
And I thought, how am I still going to do that? I still want to give to them. So I created a fly-by, drive-by, contactless, white glove delivery of a pie to your car. So I sent out invitations, and then they ordered what they want by a certain deadline. And then I had the baker make everything. Then I brought them to the office, and Claire and Lynn and I, they would text and tell us when they were coming. And then we would run out with these really ridiculous baker hats on, a happy Thanksgiving mask, and a raincoat with a apron that says "Got Real Estate." And when they would pull up in front of our office, which my sweet husband was out in the street with these orange cones and a lightsaber and a safety vest, pulling people through our drive-by where they could just drive in front of our office and drive right out. So we were creating a bit of a spectacle on the street, but it actually really worked. And we'd run out to your car, you'd open your window, we'd wear our white gloves, we'd hand you a pie.
Wow.
We'd say, hi, here's a hi, a virtual hug, and a pie, and happy Thanksgiving. And we had like 75 cars go through our drive-by last year. So that was the way we had to pivot to do something different, but we wanted to let them know we're thinking of them.
Yeah.
They lined up down the street and they were just rolling through our drive-by, through our cones, through the front. And so we just changed things up, things like that, and how we communicate as a team.
Yeah.
And how I meet with clients virtually more last year than I ever did before. And how we could figure out how to actually see them face to face and make it safe.
Yes. Yeah. That is so great, Kari, to see that you were able to still have that high level of contact with your clients that they're used to, which is why you're so successful, and be able to do that in a safe way. So, Kari, what led you into the real estate industry 22 years ago?
I was an event planner before.
23 years ago.
I know. They seem to add up, don't they?
Yeah.
So I had just sold my business and I was an event planner. And my mom said, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I got to figure it out. I mean, I have two smaller kids and what are we going to do? So she said, why don't you become a realtor? And my mom is a realtor. My mom is still a realtor. My mom's been a realtor for 45 years for
Wow.
John L. Scott and still sells real estate and is killing it. Right. So I said, she goes, why don't you be a realtor? I think you'd be good. And I'm like, oh no, I grew up of a kid of a realtor. You work way too much. I don't think I ever want to be a realtor.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, oh, well, if you ever change your mind, let me know. And so I waited like about 3 or 4 months and I started dabbling, doing informational interviews. Like, what do I want to do? Like, what's my next act? And I finally was talking to her one day and she said, why don't you just try? If you don't like it, you can leave. And if you like it, it's a great living. So needless to say, I got my license. I became a realtor. I went to this Brian Buffini thing on coaching. And I thought, oh, that would be good for me to do. My mom said, if you do it, I'll do it. So I signed up. 2 weeks later, I got my license. I went to my first open house. That was my mom's client. And I held it open for her. And I ended up selling it. And I subsequently, long story short, I sold 8 houses in 10 weeks.
Oh my
And I said, Mom, I think I like real estate.
God.
Yeah. And but then what happened? Then the real work began because I had a nice beginner's luck. And then I had to figure out, well, how do I do that again? So I had to really learn how to lead generate and let everyone I know that I'm here to help them. And I partnered with my mom for the first 3 years. And so I had she had been selling 20 years by that point. So she had a lot of experience. And so we did a lot together, but then it turned out that I kept wanting to do more. So I went off on my own and got Lynn as my assistant. And then the rest has kind of been history. So Lynn's been my assistant for it'll be 20 years, I think, in February. So everything because of the coaching and the client contact. And I'm all about referral. I'm all about working by referral. My clients are my walking, talking billboards to say that I will take care of you and I will fight for you. And I'm a really good negotiator. So call me, right? So that's how my whole business has been based, and it's compounded on that. And I just like to love up on my clients, let them know how much I appreciate them. So I have this big client appreciation program that, we're still doing even in a pandemic.
So for those of you that are listening to the show, if you're listening right now and you're looking at starting a new business, or you're in a business that you've been in for years and you've never been able to reach the level of success that you want, I want you to listen to a couple of things that Kari has said. Stop stalking the cold and work and court the warm, the people that you already know, that already appreciate what you have to offer. And also, if you listen to Kari, she started in a really powerful coaching company, the number one real estate coaching company in the world, Buffini and Company. And she's been with them ever since. She still coaches, even though she's in the top 1% in the real estate space herself. And not only does she coach, but she is a certified mentor through her coaching company, and she facilitates. So, to be the best, you need to take care of the people that already know you, and you need to constantly be leveling up through a great coaching, right, Kari?
Oh, and the beauty of it is way more fun to work with people who know you and trust you at the get-go, or have been referred to you by a friend or family member who knows and trusts you. So you've already got that going for you. So you have a much better chance of being super successful with them because they already know you're not just some internet person, right?
Yes. Yeah. So true.
And then you become their realtor for life.
Yeah.
And I've worked with my clients and their parents and their kids and their cousins. And it's just such a great way to work.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. So as we're wrapping up my first segment with you, Kari, what else is something that you've learned during your 23-year career in real estate?
Consistency is the key.
Yeah.
It's nothing special. There's no secret potion there. You don't wake up and one day you're successful. It's because everything you do today affects your tomorrow. And if you're consistent with how you treat people, how you service people, and let them know that you are there for them, they will be advocates for life. And that's really what my client base is.
Yeah.
Most of them are my friends anyway. And they come and they eat and drink in my house. And so, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. Well, what a great way to end our first segment. And coming up next on the Money Hour, continued conversation with managing broker John L. Scott, top 1% team leader and strategic problem solver, Kari Scott. of John L. Scott, West Seattle, right here at 1150 AM KKNW. You are listening to the Money Hour at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, November 6th show. You can also listen to my podcast, Facebook premiere show, or you can listen to the show on my YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on upcoming events, you can go to tinamitchellevents.com. I am your host, Tina Mitchell. I am here to help you build a strong financial blueprint, 1 week and 1 show at a time. If you are hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. I am here to answer any questions or connect you with my guest, Kari, who is on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyaragot.com. And our continued conversation with Kari of John L. Scott Westside Seattle, managing broker, John L. Scott top 1% team leader and strategic problem solver right here on 1150 AM KKNW. So Kari, we were covered a lot in my first segment with you in conversation, kind of wrapping things up, everything that you've learned over the last 23 years in real estate, what's kind of happened and changed and had needed to pivot in the pandemic and how you've been able to do that at a very high level. Kari, what is something unique aspect that you do?
We listen. We listen to the client. We really want to know what their expectations are, what their goals are, and then we help them achieve those goals. So we try to be the dream makers, and then we become the problem solvers along the way.
I love that, dream maker, and then you're a problem solver. Well, in real estate, it's location, location, location. And when you're working with clients, it's listen, and listen, right? Yeah.
If people feel that they're being heard,
yes,
they're more likely to listen to what you have to say then.
Absolutely. And you need to hear them at a deep level in order to truly understand what they're trying to accomplish, the why behind they're trying to accomplish that, because that's the only way that you can be a true problem solver, is really understanding. And that takes a lot of listening to get to the core of what they're trying to communicate, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Kari, how is running a successful business different than what you thought it would be when you started in real estate 23 years ago?
Well, I thought I knew a lot about real estate because I watched my mom as a kid doing it. And then I realized once I started, there's a difference between thinking you know about it and then actually doing it. And people that are in real estate, they realize it's so much work than they ever thought it was going to be. And you have to have many, many skill sets. You need to be the CEO of your company, and then you need to be the CFO of your company, and then you need to be the COO of your company. So you wear a lot of hats between taking care of people, knowing your contracts, being a strategic negotiator, and hand-holding people and giving them advice on how to manage situations. So it's a very large, encompassing job for sure.
Yeah. Well, and you're a counselor as well, because you're managing the biggest asset that they have, whether it's buying that big asset or it's selling that big asset and maybe getting into another one and trying to transition all or coordinate all of that at one time. So you're their counselor as well, right?
I'm there to help and consult, and I always come to the point of view, I'm not going to tell them to do anything that I wouldn't do or put my name to myself.
Yeah. So Kari, what sets you aside, one important thing that sets you aside from all of the massive competitors in the market?
Well, it's the relationships, for sure. It's my proven track record. I'm really quick. I'm a quick thinker, so that makes me a very good negotiator. And I can feel where things are going, and I can kind of roll with how that is. And you have to be able just to make these game time or game day or game minute decisions that could be the difference between you getting the bid when you're representing a buyer, or trying to get your seller the most money you can with multiple offers.
Yeah.
So it's really all encompassing. And the fact is, I love it. I'm good at it. I have fun with it. like, this is fun for me to chat with you about it too. And we could talk for hours. I know we could,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
But and I just think the thing is, I do it because I want my clients to win. My mom told me the first day I started, there was a woman in our office, and she said, I walked in, and her name was Helen. I said, Helen, I just got my license. And I'm all shiny and fresh and kind of excited because I passed the test and everything. And she looked at me behind the counter, and she'd been selling for like 45 years herself. And she looked at me and she said, hey kid, are you sure you want to do that? And I looked at her and I'm like, Helen, I just got my, she goes, you better have a tough skin because people are going to eat you up and spit you out. He goes, are you sure you want to do that? She goes, you don't have to. And I thought, what a crusty pup, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that was the best advice I'd ever given on day one, because you're working with people and their expectations, and you got to know where your boundaries are, and you know more than they do, so you have to learn how to help guide them to where they need to be so they can be successful, so they'll be so happy.
Yeah.
And so you can't please all the people all the time, but you can please most of them, right?
Yes.
And with a skill set, and you learn how to speak, and you listen, and you know where to go. Otherwise, you might turn into a crusty pup like my sweet Helen was, right? But, so I think that was some of the best advice I ever given. And the one thing too is always keep who you are forward, because there's no real estate deal in the world that's ever worth anything that would take away from you as a person.
Yeah. So true. And if you're listening to the show right now, especially on the buyer side, critically important that you work with an agent that has a reputation at the level Kari does, because with all of the multiple offers right now, the listing agent that represents the seller, which Kari does both listing agent and buyer agent, but if she's representing you as a buyer, they're looking at that agent. How many transactions have they done? The 90 plus reviews, that is impressive. 5-star reviews is impressive, Kari, because that agent that represents the seller, they want to make sure that they're working with an agent that is not just good, because you're great, Kari, great in the whole navigating the process to ensure everything's going to turn out okay at the end, because a lot of the times it doesn't. It is because of the lack of expertise that the real estate agent that's representing you has. So yeah, definitely goes a very, very long way in continued success in being able to build that for yourself. So Kari, what is your key to success in addition to all of the great information that you've shared today?
Well, I think it's being coached by a coaching company that keeps me up on everything that's up to date. I hear the predictions for what's going to happen. I'm up on, what's going on in banking and finance, and just the whole world platform, because that definitely has an effect on real estate, as real estate has an effect on it. That's why your show, Tina, is so valuable, because you're educating people who may not be in the real estate market, but love it and have a passion for it and are on their phones looking at things all the time. And you're giving them a roadmap of what's going on that can make sense to anybody, instead of some of this mumbo jumbo that it's just too complicated. So
Yeah.
you're helping a lot of people do that. And what I do is I just try to transfer that to what's presently going with a buyer. It was difficult being a buyer's estate agent this time, because you'd be up against 10, 15 offers at a time. And a lot of it was just buyer education. And let's face it, so many people, we waived financing contingencies this year just to be competitive. And we've never done it like this before. But if you wanted to win, and you have a good lender like Tina that will say, okay, waive your financing contingency, but you have to have that golden egg pot of money if for some reason it doesn't appraise, because we don't want you to lose your earnest money. I mean, you have to have these conversations that you've never had to have before up until the last year.
Yeah, I know. Definitely crazy times. And I've been in the industry for over a quarter of a century. I'm on my 26th year. 2022 will be 27 years. And before the pandemic, I just, confidently would say to myself, I mean, I've seen everything. I've been in every single market. Mm-hmm. But you're always shown that you actually have not been in every single market. This market definitely is a new one that I can put a check next to. That it was a different market. So on that note, what do you predict for 2022 for the real estate market?
Okay, Kari's predictions are.
Kari's predictions, yeah.
I think we're going to have a very similar year to what we had this year.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be quite as fast. I think interest rates play a huge part on where we're going to land in, if we're going to have multiple offers or escalated prices. I think we may go back and we might see more inspections instead of just pre-inspections. I think we may see full financing contingencies instead of everything waived. But there will always be those houses, those special houses that will command that because there's people just dying to look for them. And, we have been in an inventory shortage. That's why so many things would have gone escalated beyond where we thought that they would, which
Yeah.
made it really hard for lenders and appraisers because they didn't have appraisals on markets. Like I've had some houses that just went ridiculous. And I'm like, wow, it was just even surprising for me, which is another reason why you want a full-time agent that's in it every day, that just doesn't do it part-time. Because the one thing I can say that I've learned about real estate is that I'll never know everything. And even after 22 years, going into my 23rd, I'm still learning more and more and more. And that knowledge compounds again and again and again. And I think, why did anybody ever work with me when I was brand new?
Well,
But
I see that all the
have,
time as well. How did I
yeah,
even make it through my first 2 years? I have
yeah.
no idea how we did it.
I had my mom with
I guess
me.
it's naive. I was just naive and had no idea what I was getting myself into.
There's a huge contractual obligation. Like I take tons of training every year. I go to conferences all over, and I run small groups that I have over the years. And I'm in a weekly accountability meeting with 5 other realtor friends that are from across the country that we meet every Thursday at 9 a.m. from 9 to 10 a.m. And we have since the pandemic started as a way to help each other because we all didn't know how to navigate through this craziness. And it's just, you need good people to create good experiences. And that's what we hope that our clients feel. And that's what I feel with the other people that I associate with, like you.
Yeah. Anyone that's in the top 1%, no matter what we're talking about, if it's in sports or it's in real estate or it's in mortgage, because I'm in the top 1%, and the nation made it again in 2020. And if you look at all that are at the best of the best at what they do, they have coaches. They're continuing to learn. They continue to have somebody looking outside from the outside, because it's hard for you to see within your own space some of the areas that could use improvement. And the accountability, again, the best of the best in every sport has accountability and coaches that keep them, such a big takeaway for if you're listening to the show today. So Kari, what else have you seen that has our current environment impacted the real estate market?
Well, before I answer that question, one thing I wanted to do to piggyback on what we were just saying is one thing that really helped me is I read a book a few years ago called The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran.
Yeah,
and it's about going 12 weeks like that's your whole entire year.
Yeah.
So because how we always have a tendency to do a lot in the fourth quarter because we know it's the end of the year, we're trying to make the goal. Yeah. But if you have these 90-day goals and you really ardently want to achieve them, following this program is so beneficial. Let's say you want to lose 10 pounds, or you want to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, or you want to remodel your house, or you want to run a marathon, or you just want to help your clients at a deeper level in real estate or whatever industry that you're in. That book has taken a whole year in bite-sized pieces, 4 of them, 4 12-week years, and just made the results that you can do when you put your mind to something that you can really focus on for 90 days is pretty extraordinary.
Yes.
So I love that. So the next question you had was, again?
Yeah. So the next question is with what else is happening in our current environment? Actually, you know what, Kari, let's go ahead and leave this. I'm going to take us to commercial break. Okay. It'll be a good time to take us into our third conversation with you. So coming up next in the Money Hour, continued conversation with managing broker, John L. Scott, top 1%, team leader and strategic problem solver, Kari Scott at John L. Scott, West Seattle, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. You are listening to the Money Hour at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, November 6th show. You can also listen to my podcast, Facebook premiere show, or the show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on upcoming events, you can go to TinaMitchellEvents.com. I am your host, Tina Mitchell. I bring into virtual studio, each week the best of the best experts in our local market regarding your money. I'm here to help you in today's economy. And now continued conversation with Kari Scott of John L. Scott, West Seattle, managing broker of John L. Scott, top 1%, team leader and strategic problem solver, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. So, Kari, as we were wrapping up our last segment, I wanted to take us in to my next question is, what else is happening in our current environment that is impacting our real estate market right now?
Well, I think people are worried that interest rates are going to change because we're going into a new year.
Mhm.
And I think that they're thinking they better ride this wave while they can. So I'm seeing a lot of clients that are still like they've been thinking about it. You know how you think about something and you think about it Sunday, you're going to do it, Sunday, you're going to do it. And finally, you can't take your homeschooling room and you want a bigger space, just, the kids are bigger, whatever it might be. And so I'm getting calls where we've been super busy this fall and early winter with people wanting to do their houses now, buy them or look for, like I've got many sets of buyers right now. We just don't have the inventory for them.
Yeah.
And so every day we're just trying to dig up the best inventory we can find to show them. And then on the seller side, I have sellers that were thinking maybe I'll wait till January, but now with the economy, they're thinking, what if it's not as good? So they want to push and just go in the winter and just sell their houses. So they say, when is the best time you sell your house or to buy a house? And I always say, when you're ready. I do this every month. So when you're ready, I'm ready to go. So, there's just a lot of fodder, no matter what you feel politically, there's going to be a change that you can just always tell this things are changing no matter what's happening. That's the one thing you can count on is there'll be some change. Absolutely. And we know our market's super good right now. So why not take advantage of it?
Yeah, two of my own personal mind shifts, connecting with the 12-week year that you shared with the book is rejoicing in your small successes, and my second one, taking the hard road, which represents change. And so I say hard road because to majority it's a hard road, but when you take it enough and create a habit around it, you see it actually leads you to easy street if you're constantly looking how you can level up and change to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. So let's talk about the biggest challenge that you feel buyers are facing in today's real estate market.
Well, the number one thing is just the competition.
Yeah.
I just put a house on $1,260,000. I priced it at the top end of the range, and in 4 days I had 9 offers and it went over $1,520,000. So you just don't know what, a lot of houses, if they're prepared well, and that's what I'm good at, is I really help you prepare your house for sale. Yeah. So that the objections can be overcome easily, and then you'll get more money as a seller. But as a buyer, you've got to really come in with your A game, because people are clamoring for good inventory and they're willing to pay for it. So that's a challenge right now. It's just lack of inventory and a lot of buyers and sellers.
Yeah. So, a shout out for the buyers is the biggest mistake that you can make is give up. Just know that your house is waiting for you. It might not be the first one, the second, third, fourth, or fifth offer that you make, but if you keep going and you don't give up, your home's going to find you. And that is, I think that's where buyers are they're just getting fatigued and they give up, and it hasn't changed that they want to buy a home, especially for people that don't have a home. And, it's really important just to keep going, and then, listen to your real estate expert and work with one of the best like Kari that can really help you navigate and help you to present that best offer. And with her reputation, having a better chance of you being that chosen one in those multiple offers that come in on that particular home. So, Kari, what is the biggest challenge that you see your sellers are facing in today's real estate market, or sellers in general?
Well, for sellers, I just want to make sure they don't overprice it out the gate and let the market take it up to the higher tide. Because some they say, well, they got this. I said, but they started here and they got there. Unless there's like more than 2 on the block that have really escalated up, you need to go where the stats tell you to be, because the worst thing you can do is overprice your house, and then you don't get the tide rising and you don't have multiple offers, and you become very lonely because not enough people are bringing you offers or coming to visit your house, because you can't start at the escalated price. You have to start at the price statistically that fits for your neighborhood.
Yeah. And another reason that you need to work with the best of the best, because pricing and figuring out how to price a home to maximize the buyers coming in for competition, which is then going to escalate that value up. It takes a lot of expertise. It takes the expertise on the negotiation side, listing, and all of that. So, Kari, what do you see buyers need to do to better prepare for the current environment if they want to purchase a home right now?
Well, the first thing is we try to emotionally prepare them, because it's going to be a wild ride. And sometimes it feels like, the car's a little out of control there, right? We're going to bring you back into the lane and take you to the finish line. But like, as you very astutely said earlier, the house that you end up with is supposed to be the one you're supposed to have. The house will find you. Yeah. It's so true. I've said this for years. I've said, I have never, ever had anybody tell me in all these years up to today that they wish they would have got the house that got away.
Yeah.
For some
I
reason,
ask
the
my
one
buyers
they
all the
get.
time after 5, offers. So how
Yeah.
did you compare that with the other 5 offers that I didn't come through? Oh my God, I'm so glad that it's so
Yes.
true. Yeah.
And a couple of times I thought, oh, I don't know, this might break my perfect record after all these years. And I skated through and they're like, no, we actually are so, and I'll ask them, I go, are you happy with this house? Is this the one you really want? Do you love it the most? How do you feel about the ones that got away? They're like, no, this was a better fit for us. And I can really honestly just tell them, no one's ever said they would have got the house that got away. And I had one guy that I wrote him 11 offers on Capitol Hill, 11 offers. He just couldn't compete. We kept getting, it wasn't that we didn't write good offers, but we wrote the best offer we could based on what we had to work with, right? Yeah. And what got it was a relationship through another person that I knew that, we worked it out and we got the 11th offer, and he loves it. He was so excited and delighted. But sometimes, as an agent, you have to realize and tell them they may have to write 5 or 6 offers unless they have the means to come in strong out the gate. But most buyers, even if they do have the means, they don't want to just lay it out. Yeah. They have to learn a few times, and then they will come to the party like to own it, just to win it.
And maybe that's part of it is as well as, to feel confident in how they got into the home that they've gone through, and they understand, this is the market, and it's the value of your home is what a buyer is willing to pay for it.
Yes.
And, it's the supply and demand. Mm-hmm. And, it's the sellers, as you said, in great listing your property. It's not listing for what the other property sold for, it's listing for what the data shows. And that's why they're escalating up, because what it's listed for is not what it's worth. It's to bring in the competition, which then takes that value up to maximize, maximize for the sellers. So, Kari, what do sellers need to do to prepare in our current environment if they want to sell their home?
Okay, so the way to get the most, if you're a seller out there, is that make your yard look beautiful, put some black mulch in the beds, mow it, edge it, blow it, pressure wash. Even if it's November, pressure wash. People love clean. Make sure your windows are clean. If you have a room and you love it and it is magenta, that's not going to attract the widest buyer audience. Neutral is key right now. Everybody loves things neutral. They want calm and zen and peaceful. They don't want a rainbow of colors in the house. They want it nice and cohesive. The other thing is, if there's, make sure your bathrooms and showers and your grout is really great. If you need to redo your floors or paint, those are the 2 most inexpensive things you can do to get the highest payback for that. Yeah. Staging is really important. Staging is so important. I get so much more money for my houses because they're staged. Sometimes I get 20, 50, 75,000 more for a house just because it looks so fabulous.
And it makes sense because people they have an emotional connection as soon as they walk into that home.
Right. And they don't want to look at your collections and your baseball caps and your clutter and all your figurines and all that. So, I always tell my clients, you might not like me right now, but you'll love me later because I've had you pre-packed. And we've just got you ready to go. Yeah. And your outside space for wining and dining or eating or barbecuing is more important now than it's ever been because of what we're with the pandemic.
Yeah.
So getting your house prepared. I highly encourage all my clients to do a pre-inspection and to do a sewer scope so that we make it easy for a buyer who's lost 3 offers, not have to pay $800 to buy for an inspection, pay for an inspection and a sewer scope that they're never going to have. And that way you have less wear and tear in your house as a seller from ladders being drug around and tools falling and, creating messes. It's just, if you take the objections away on the front side by doing the little small things, it's like the sum of the parts.
Yep.
You will get far more people interested. You'll have multiple offers. You'll have no inspection. You'll have no sewer scope, and you'll get the most money and the smallest, shortest window of time.
Yeah. And a lot less stress having to go through all of that that you just listed out, Kari. So what is the one biggest mistake that a buyer could make today?
That they overspend for what they can afford.
Okay.
You want to have food with your meals.
Yeah.
And if you're a first time buyer, buy where you can afford. And then we'll step you up in a couple of years. Yeah. And I just want you to, make sure you can still have a life while you have a house, right? And the other thing is when they're writing offers, they can be very conservative out the gate, but they lose a few houses and they realize that if they really want to compete in this market, which I don't control and you don't control, but I will tell you strategically everything you need to do to win. Yeah. And then it's up to you if you want to do it, but I will guide you and educate you and totally, counsel you on everything you need to do if you're willing to. And if you're not, it's okay. A lot of times too, when buyers are looking, like say they're looking for houses between 6 and 900, right? Or 700 and 900. You really can't look at 900 right now. You need to really look more like 800. So you have runway so that you can be competitive.
Yeah.
And if you think that you're close to being more competitive, but you need a few more months to save more down payment, then let's do that.
Absolutely.
Because then you won't spend months trying to buy houses that you really want, that you don't quite have the to really take it to the finish line.
Yeah. And it's, really looking, again, taking the expert advice from a top agent like Kari and looking at the data. I mean, you can see how much homes are going over what they were actually listed. And so you can see that, that's happening out there, and also understanding, really what a per 10,000 calculation means in your mortgage payment. It depends on down payment, but it's 45 to maybe $60 if you're doing a 5% down, $40, $45 a month if you're doing a 20% down every 10,000. So when you understand the numbers and how that's going to impact, and then you can look at your budgeting, you don't want to overspend, as Kari said, but you can look at your budgeting and go, okay, well, $50 is going to buy me another 10,000. What can I eliminate? Well, that 5 nights out a month for dinner, taking that down to maybe 2 nights out could get you that extra, 100,000 or whatever you need to get that offer. And on saving, just make sure that you're looking at the cost, what that could be potentially costing you as you're saving, because you have to be able to make sure you can keep up with the mortgage rates increasing and be able to keep up with property values increasing, because I'm sure Kari would agree. I don't see property values dropping. So if you can't keep up with the appreciation, save enough, right? That could be a challenge for you.
One thing people need to realize that in the Northwest, when we had the 2007, 2008 bubble that we were in, when we were in the recession, we had the shortest ride on the slow train. The rest of the country was hit way harder. We are so strong in tech that our market is still great. So as much as I'm saying buy what you can afford, I mean that like if you can go buy your first house that's $1.5 million, buy it now, because interest rates are never going to really be better. So buy where it fits and makes sense for you. But if you say I can afford $1.5 million, but I want to spend 800, you might not like yourself later when you realize you needed a bigger house and you've had another kid and you could have bought it at such a great interest rate.
And you look at what that $1.5 million does in appreciation versus that 800,000, not just in simple math on appreciation percentage, but also the fact that 1.5 is in a better area, higher appreciation neighborhood for sure. So Kari, I wish I could just stay here all day with you, because I know that we could, but my engineer for some reason is just saying that it's time to wrap up the show. So Kari, thank you so much for being here for the entire show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's just been so much fun to chat with you.
Likewise.
I really appreciate it.
Likewise. And I am your host, Tina Mitchell, your local mortgage expert, signing off for the day. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday and your weekend. I look forward to talking more money with you next weekend, right here on 1150 AM KKNW.